So we're in this message series that's talking about doing it. And this morning we'll look into James again. And so the question though becomes, how's this working for us? What actions have you done this week because of your faith in Jesus? What difference has Jesus made in your life? Are there situations that you responded to in your home, at work, in the privacy of your own emotion, whatever it is? Things that you've done that are different and glorifying to God because of your faith in Jesus. That's what we're asking this morning. That's what we're asking in this series. So it's easy for us to sort of just say, well, when you just hear the word do, to hear it as sort of, well, let's just get busy and just be about a lot of frantic activity. That's not what we're saying. Because there's a lot of things that can be said that we can do to be protecting ourselves. A lot of things that we can be doing because we're fearful and because we're anxious. And that's not the kind of doing that we're talking about this morning. We're talking about the doing that comes from faith. That says, because I'm believing on who God is and what He's about in our lives, that then He becomes a part of our lives. So, actions that are the result of our faith. Because James says, faith that does not have corresponding actions is dead. And we'll look at that passage in just a minute. But first, let me just say that I'm concerned this morning that so often we go through life and I don't know, do you ever identify into this where it's sort of like if God wasn't a part of my life, 99% of it would stay the same? Anybody feel that way ever? Where it's just sort of like, because sometimes I think it's sort of like all the good things that happen, that's just the way it's supposed to be, and all the bad things that happen, it's like, God, how come you didn't show up? You identify with me at all on that? Where it's like God's job is to keep everything going smoothly, you know. God's job is to just sort of be like the operating system in the background, you know. It's like you don't think about your internet connection until you have to wait for something to come forward, right? I mean, it's like, no thanks to Verizon. They're just supposed to be there all the time, right? And so sometimes we treat God kind of that way, where it's like, I mean, life is just supposed to be easy. Life's just supposed to work well. And then those times where it's not, it's like, God, how come you're not making it as though God was there to serve us instead of us to serve Him, right? Instead of us asking the question, God, what is it that you're calling us to do in order to be activating our faith to be part of who you are and what you're doing in our lives? I remember when I was in I think I was in my late teens, when I came to this deep realization that I carried for the rest of my life, that the reason that I did well in school, that the reason was because God was part of my life. That the reason that I didn't have any serious social dysfunctions was because God was part of my life. And up until that point, it was sort of like, God, I wish I had a testimony. You know, it's like and God brought this revelation to me that said, it's my grace at work in your life that is there empowering you. And I began to sort of have to come down off of my pedestal a little bit and realize that I don't have a disciplined personality. I have a Holy Spirit that is a spirit that comes with self-discipline. Okay? I'm not, so we begin to say, God, these qualities of who you are that are already at work within us, and we give you thanks, we give you praise for that this morning. Last night as we were together here, that was a theme that was coming through. God, I thank you. I thank you. This recognition of God, you're at work. There's things that you're doing, and so we're giving you credit for those things, God. So then, the next level is, God, can you make me aware of your presence in my life so that I can be cooperating with it? Because if you're doing your thing over here, and I'm kind of just trying to do my thing here, but they're not connecting, we're not really getting the synergism that we could be having, right? And so you do your thing and make me aware of it so that I could be plugging in with it and can be participating with it for your glory of your name. There's that trite phrase now, what would Jesus do, right? We put it on our bracelets and all kinds of things, and sometimes maybe that's sort of an effort to sort of just make it kind of easy to say, because sometimes it's hard to do, right? So what would Jesus do? And so that's the kind of action that we're talking about. So you're on the job, or you're in school, your coworkers or your schoolmates are talking negatively about somebody else. Join in, walk away, maybe say, what can we do to help the situation, rather than exacerbating it, okay? So this is the example. Just what is the difference that your faith actions are making? Let's see how James says that. In James chapter 2, verses 17. So you see, faith by itself isn't enough unless it produces good deeds. It is dead and useless. Now, I have some kiwi vines at my house that the vines grow well every year. But these vines do not produce kiwis. And it's kind of like, I mean, there's this faith there every year, you know? It's like, but there's no deeds. There's no fruit that results from it. It's just kind of nice, and so it's like I go up to it and I say, I didn't plant you here for nice green leaves. I planted you here for kiwis, right? So it's that same thought here. That faith, unless it's producing good deeds, is dead and useless. Verse 18. Some may argue, some people have faith, others have good deeds. That kind of faith that's just sort of isolated is faith that's just summed up as, I think the right thoughts. I think good thoughts, or I know theology. I know the right way to look at things. The good deeds, isolated by itself, is just, I'm busy doing stuff. I do this random, I keep frantically busy just doing good stuff. But I might be doing it so that you're trying to gain approval by the things that you're doing. Or you're trying to do the good things so that God accepts you. That's not motivated by faith. That's motivated by anxiety, by fear. That's not the kind of actions that we're talking about this morning, right? How can you show me your faith if it's not displayed, if you're not doing it by good deeds? I will show you my faith by my good deeds. Faith produces doing. Faith produces deeds, produces action. You say you have faith, for you believe that there's one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. All of you, like me, who like sarcasm, James becomes our patron saint, okay? Because this is full of sarcasm right here, okay? You believe there's one God. Good for you. You know, you hear the sarcasm there? You're now on the level of demons. It's hardly a ringing endorsement, right? They believe that. They know what's right. But their actions are not lining up with that, right? Their allegiance is to somebody else. Their allegiance is to the enemy. It's not to this God of truth. So just knowing it is not faith. Not the faith that produces action. So we're talking about faith, this belief that's aligned with God and His Word, and taking steps that commit us into implementing and acting on that faith. So you say you have faith, and you believe there's one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish! Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless? Don't you remember that our ancestor Abraham was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see, his faith and his actions worked together. His actions made his faith complete. And so it happened, just as the scriptures say. Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. He was even called the friend of God. So you see, we are shown to be right with God by what we do and not by faith alone.
Amen.
So it's by what we do, not by faith alone, but it's not by what we do alone either. It's by faith that produces the do. Because Hebrews 11 says what? Without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Amen.
So faith is a necessary ingredient, but this activated faith that produces action is what we're talking about this morning. Faith that has us actually stepping out and committing into it. God, if this really is who you are, then I will... What comes to your mind in that blank? What's the fill-in for that blank? Because of who you are, therefore this is what you're asking of me today as my next step. Let's look into the life of Abraham a bit more this morning as this passage asks us to. So here's Abraham. Abraham shows up in the early chapters of Genesis. And there's quite a chunk of the book of Genesis that's devoted to Abraham. And when we get to this special chapter in Hebrews 11 that I've already referenced, chapter 11 of Hebrews is known as the heroes of faith. And it goes through this long list of people that carried faith. And there's more verses devoted to Abraham and his wife Sarah than to any other person there. So Abraham really invested deeply in this relationship with God. He worked this relationship with God. You know, there's this, up until that time, we don't have any examples of anybody who really grew a relationship with God in the way that Abraham did. So Abraham has God appearing to him, and God says to him, I'm going to make you a father of a great nation. Now, he says, by proof of that, I want you to look up into the sky. And so he looks up into the sky, and God says, I'm going to make you a father of as many nations, of as many people as what you see in the sky. Now, if he was right here, you'd look up in the sky and say, what? Oh, 27. Yeah, so you're going to make me, because, you know, but imagine that you're camping, which was Abraham's perpetual life, living in a tent, right? No ground lights, no pollution. You ever in one of those settings, and the sky is just filled with stars, right?
Amen.
And so that's what Abraham's seeing. Stars upon stars that you can't count because they're almost overlapping each other. That's the kind of promise that God is giving to Abraham that night. Where he says, just look up into the sky. That's what I want to be doing in your life. That's how I want to be working for you. Okay? Now here's Abraham. He's not known for his supreme intellect. There's not a lot of wise and pithy sayings coming out of his mouth. When we record Abraham talking, there's just about as many times where he's getting himself into trouble, where he's saying to the king, this wife is actually my sister, and things like that, where he's sort of trying to help God out, then it is that he seems like he's really wise. But what he's doing is, he's working this relationship with God. He's spending time with God. We find him out. In order for God to be able to say, look up in the sky, what's Abraham doing? He's out with the Lord. He's just taking time to be present with God. Let's read that from Genesis 15. I think I didn't give this scripture to you, so just listen to me. the Lord took Abraham outside and said to him, "Look up into the sky, count the stars if you can, and how many descendants you will have." And Abraham believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. That verse was in our James passage, okay? It's referencing back here to Genesis 15. The Lord counted Abraham as righteous because of his faith. Now, what's Abraham doing at this point? What's the doing action of Abraham? Relationship with God. His doing is focused on this is God at work, this is what you're saying to me, and I'm going to believe you. The Lord told him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans," that's the name of a place, "to give you this land of Canaan that became the promised land where Israel would one day grow up. I will give you this land as your possession." And Abram has a question. "Sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I'll actually possess it?" So here's Abraham. He's doing two things. He's saying, "I believe you, God." And then he says, and then he asks the question, "How can I be sure that I will possess it? How do I enter into this promise that you're giving me?" Okay? You're telling me that this descendants will be mine. You're telling me that this land will be mine. How can I be sure that I'll enter into it? Jesus, what do I need to do in order to get at this? And God says, "Abraham, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take some animals, you to take some bulls, some cows, and I want you to split them apart, and I want you to lay them out in two paths here, with the laying down the middle." God gets a little gory at times, doesn't it? I mean, it's like, okay, so I got 3 bulls, and I cut them in half, and I laid them out, and so you want me to be a butcher? And so and then Abraham goes to sleep, and in his sleep, he has this dream, and there's a smoking pot and a flaming torch, and they pass between these halves of the animals. Does that grip your heart? Not so much, right? Not really. Here's what was happening. To sign treaties, they would take animals, they'd split them apart, and they'd lay them there, and the two people that were entering into the treaty would walk through that together, okay? With the carcasses laid out on both sides, as if to say, if I don't live up to my end of the treaty, this will happen to me. And we're both saying that, because we're both standing there, okay? We should have done that in our marriage ceremony. Now, what passes through between them? Not Abraham. The flaming torch and the smoking pot. Okay, just Bible scholars. Clouds, flames. Any images of that? Let's zip ahead a number of 100 years, and there's Moses, and he's in a wilderness, and what's leading him? Fire by night, a cloud by day, right? This cloud of smoke, this flame, this is the presence of God. Let's zip ahead a little bit more. Peter, upper room, rushing wind, what falls upon them? Flame, fire, right? Okay? So this is the image of the presence of God. And so what's happening here is God, as this pillar of fire and the smoke, He's the one that's passing through. He's saying the fulfillment of what I'm promising you today is up to me. You walk with me, Abraham, but you don't have to walk through this because you are not a dependent participant in this covenant. I'm giving you the covenant. You just keep saying, I'm believing you. I'm believing you. I'm believing you. I'm believing you. So that feels pretty good for Abraham, right? And so he asked the Lord, God says, I got this, I got your back, and just keep on believing. And so Abraham kept on believing, and believing, and believing, and believing for how long? 25 years. Because 25 years, and then Isaac was born. Abraham's 99. And this fulfillment of the stars in the sky is one boy. That's God fulfilling His promises. It's right here. This is the fulfillment right here. Through you, Isaac, He names him, right? And then Isaac grows up. And Abraham starts this journey of being a dad when he's about 100 years old. All right. Now, so Abraham is waiting on God.
Yes.
His action is waiting, believing in these promises of God.
Yes.
And meanwhile, he's making decisions, he's living his life, and there's ways that God's using him. But there's ways that God's using him which he's probably unaware of how God's using him because he's locked in on this bigger purpose. So it's things like this where he's got this nephew, Lot, and they're both getting so rich that the land can't support them, and they have to separate, right?
Yes.
Now, Abraham is the oldest, so he could have just said, Lot, this is where you will go. But because he's believing God, there's a difference in his daily actions. How he acts in daily circumstances is different because he's extending his faith to God.
Yes.
And so what does he do instead? He says, Lot, you choose. Where do you want? You want the fertile valley or you want the hillsides? And Lot says, I think the valley would be easier. And so Abraham says, fine, I'll take the hills. And God says, Abraham, I will bless you. I will honor that choice that you made. And so there's other examples like that as well. Now, we get to Genesis 22, where God starts in on Genesis 22, and it says, sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. Abraham, God called. Yes, he replied, here I am. Now, up to this point, he had to wait a long time, but God would keep showing up to him and say, believe me, I'm going to make you the father of this nation. Believe me, your job, keep believing me. Keep believing me, right? So can you imagine kind of the thrill that Abraham gets, where it's sort of like, it's like you get this renewal bonus. Yeah, I'm re-upping your membership, right? So, yes, he replies, here I am. This time, the message of God is this. Take your son, your only son. Yes, Isaac. He's really zeroing in here. Just in case there's any sort of misunderstanding about who I'm talking about. I'm talking about to you, Abraham. I'm talking about your son. I'm talking about your only son, the one you've named Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you. Now, this is a troubling passage because here God is saying, I want you to sacrifice your child. Does God believe in child sacrifice? But just remember, there's no template here, okay? This is before Moses. This is before the Ten Commandments are issued. So Abraham doesn't have a lot to go on here other than the fact of what God is speaking to him. out of this relationship that he's cultivating with God. That's what he has. So he looks around at the other gods, and they like child sacrifices. So he has to ask the question, does mine like it or not? You know, okay? So now it's very clear here in the passage. God is doing this as a test for Abraham. So quite clear that God is not about wanting his son actually as a physical sacrifice, okay? So, but this is the test. So the next morning, Abraham gets up early. He saddles his donkey. If we could go to Genesis 22. He saddles his donkey, took 2 of his servants with him, along with his son Isaac. Then he chopped wood for a fire. Not bad for a guy who's probably about 120, right? Chopping wood for a fire. For burnt offering, and set out for a place that God had told him about. On the 3rd day of their journey, Abraham looked up and saw the place in their distance. Traveled for 3 days. So Abraham said to the servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will travel a little farther. We'll worship there, and then we'll come right back." We will come right back. Yeah. So Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulders, while he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them walked on together, Isaac turned to Abraham and said, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "We have the fire and the wood," the boy said, "but where's the sheep for the burnt offering?" It's like, you're 120, Abraham. I mean, we might overlook if you've forgotten something, right? "God will provide a sheep for the burnt offering, my son," Abraham answered. And they both walked on together. When they arrived at the place where God had told him to go, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Then he tied his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Just context here. Isaac is probably a teenager or in his early 20s. His dad is 120. Who's physically stronger? Then he tied his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to kill his son as a sacrifice. At that moment, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, "Abraham!" "Yes," Abraham replied, "here I am." "Don't lay a hand on the boy," the angel said. "Do not hurt him in any way, for now I know that you truly fear God. You've not withheld from me even your son, your only son." Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. So he took the ram and sacrificed it as the burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham named the place Yahweh Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. Down to verse 15, the angel of the Lord called again to Abraham. "This is what the Lord says, because you've obeyed me, have not withheld even your son, your only son, I will swear by my own name that I will certainly bless you, I'll multiply your descendants," and there the promise is again. Okay? So this time, it's different. This time, it's time for action. Abraham, take your son Isaac, your only son, the one that you love, and I want you to start to notice the details in this, okay? Your son, your only son, take your son, offer him as a sacrifice.
Yes.
Any theme in the Bible that this is starting to, okay? All right? They traveled to the location by donkey. We're soon coming up to Palm Sunday, right? When Jesus enters into the place of his crucifixion by donkey. They spend 3 days executing this. They walked to the top of the mountain where they would offer their sacrifice. Incidentally, the mountain that they were on became Golgotha. It's the same place where the crosses were that Jesus. Abraham carried the fire and the knife. Isaac carried the wood. Jesus carries the wood for his sacrifice on his shoulders. God is This is foreshadowing at its best, right?
Yes.
This is the typing. This is saying, this is a prophetic sign of what I have.
Yes.
Abraham, you are my friend. Abraham, I'm letting you in on what I'm going to do someday. Will you walk with me with this? And so so here it is. Here's the ram that's caught in the thicket, that's caught in the brambles. And we're going to use him, this ram, as a sacrifice today. And that begins this hundreds and hundreds of years of sacrifices, a sheep, in order to say that someday this Lamb of God will come who takes away the sin of the world.
Yes, Lord.
Because God says, I will sacrifice my son. And just as Isaac was an adult in this situation and had choice into this, so Jesus, as God, is choosing this. This is not God forcing this upon his son. This is the Father and Son together saying, we will redeem this world. We will take action that separates people from their sin. We will separate people from the bondages that hold them fast. We will be rescuing people from darkness. We will be setting them free. And we're doing this because we will be the ones that absorb the sin and the sacrifice instead. We're not looking out and saying, well, somebody's got to pay for that, right? That's our society. Whenever something goes wrong, it has to be somebody's fault. And I should probably be able to sue it at the court and get some money for it, right? Because it's got to be somebody's fault. It has to be somebody's. No, it's not. God says, we will take that, we will absorb it upon Jesus on the cross. And that allows you to go free. That allows you to go free as you enter in on that plan and that purpose. So here's God setting the scene for hundreds of years later, when his heart of the God the Father would be moved with compassion. Compassion is love that does something. Love that does something. And what he's doing is he's sacrificing his one and only son, the one that is named not Isaac, but the one that is named Jesus.
Yes.
So today the question is not, as it was for Isaac and Abraham, where is the lamb? But the answer is, here is the lamb. It's the Lamb of Jesus that takes away the sin of the world. The question is, will you accept that solution?
Yes, Lord.
Will you accept that solution? Will you allow this way of Jesus to be the way that soaks the enmity out of your heart? That soaks up all the injustice against you, that pulls it out of you, so that you're there to be free and to be able to walk in the fullness of what God intends for you. Amen. Will you allow that? There's the old Ben-Hur movie has this great line in it where when he's relating to his sister what happens as he witnessed the crucifixion. His heart was just so filled with hate and bitterness and all the injustices that were done against him. And he says something to the effect of, when I saw him die, it drew the sword right out of my hand.
Yes.
That's what the Lamb of God does. When you look at this Lamb of God, it draws the vengeance out of you.
Yes.
And it says, vengeance is mine, I will repay,
Praise
says
God.
the Lord.
Yes.
Your job is to walk as ambassadors with me, so that if your enemy hungers, you feed him. If he's thirsty, you give him something to drink. You're heaping coals of fire upon his head. You're doing these countercultural actions, these things that are the antidote of the poison that Satan's injecting into the system. And what makes it possible is this sacrifice that breaks the chains, that breaks the burdens to fall off your back, that allows you to walk in freedom, that says what's connecting into me is not dependent upon the circumstances, because God, I believe you. I believe you, and you say that there's a day coming when this will all be redeemed. You say that this is a day coming when there will be freedom, and that we can begin to walk in that freedom today and to live in the reality of that now. So he believed, he asked, he waited, and he obeyed.
Praise God.
That's our call this morning. We believe, God, we believe that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. We believe that you sent your Son Jesus to die for us. We believe that you are the one who executes that there's nothing that we can do, that the fulfillment of that promise is dependent upon you. And we wait for that final fulfillment when all is made right. And in the meantime, we listen to your voice. Imagine, church, if Abraham had stopped listening after he got the instruction from God to sacrifice his son. He got an order from God. But as he's carrying that out, as he's walking into the fulfillment of that, he keeps listening to that voice of the Father. And the voice of the Father says, Abraham, stop. And Abraham halted because he was in this relationship with God. He had heard the voice. He knew the voice. The same voice that was giving him the promises, giving him his commands on how to be obedient, was the one that was there speaking to him at every turn of the way. And so we want to be those people that are listening to the voice of the Spirit at every step of the way. That what God conceives in us, that what He births, He continues to grow up and will bring it into the full fruitfulness. And our job is to keep in step and to keep listening and to keep responding and to be ready to take those steps of obedience because you know His voice. Because you're hearing His promise. Because you're hearing that message of freedom and redemption. And so when it is, take that step out of your comfort zone. You're ready to do that because you know that His grace is sufficient for you. Because you know the voice. You hearing me this morning, church?
Yes.
Let's stand. Let's present ourselves before the Lord. So God, this morning, we present ourselves before you. We ask, Lord God, for you to be breaking those vengeances that are in our heart this morning. We ask you, Lord God, to be taking those things that hold us back and be stripping them away and be declaring us free in you.